So we go to the Eastern Cape because there is an investigation by the Southern Africa Accountability Journalism Project, which has corroborated allegations of systemic corruption at the Eastern Cape Division of the High Court in Mthatha, where we are told court officials solicit bribes, some as high as 15,000 rands from attorneys to perform routine administrative functions. Attorneys attempting to perform routine administrative functions at that court allege that court officials, want them to give them 15,000 rands to do tasks that ordinarily should be part of their normal jobs. To expand on this, we're joined by Mbekezeli Benjamin, Research and Advocacy Officer at Judges Matter. Mbekezeli, how are you?
I'm very well, TK. Good afternoon to you and good afternoon to the listeners.
Yeah, how bad is the situation? Because apparently, bribe fees start as little as 250 if you want a court date secured, and depending on the nature of, corrupt activities that are involved, it can go up as high up as 15,000 rands, among others. I mean, what do you know about the nature of this corruption there?
Well, look, TK, any instance of corruption, especially in the courts, is a tragedy. It is a big problem because it undermines people's trust in the courts, it undermines people's faith in the court, and it takes away justice from people who are deserving. That means the only people who will get justice are those who can pay those bribes, and it's something that should never, ever happen in this country. So we know from the report by the investigative journalists that it seems to be a widespread practice. And in fact, I think a year or so ago, you and I were speaking about a report that we ourselves had commissioned, which was a court user survey, where we asked users of courts, some of them in the Eastern Cape, in both rural courts and in urban courts in the Eastern Cape, about their experiences, and we specifically asked a question about corruption. Unfortunately, we didn't get a lot of responses, but at least 6% of the respondents in that survey did say that they were solicited for a bribe. Now, the big problem is they couldn't really say it was which official specifically, because the courtroom environment operates like an ecosystem. There are police officers, there are correctional services officers, prosecutors, court clerks, defense lawyers. So there are lots of moving parts. So if you as an ordinary member of the public, you go to someone who looks like they're in authority and they demand from you a 15,000 rand bribe, you don't know whether this person has the power actually to do what they are requesting you to do, or they're just trying to hustle you for a bribe. So that is the difficulty in all of this.
Yeah, and it speaks to delaying justice, because some lawyers are saying, I'm not going to pay 3,000 rands for allocation of a new date. I mean, what is that? And some, basically, according to the information that we have, I mean, some of these relate to the same thing, allocating court dates, transcribing court orders, expediting taxation of legal costs, divorce issues, and. So, apart from the fact that, they're demanding bribe, and if you don't pay, then there's a delay, then it speaks to obstructing the same, justice that people are waiting for. Apparently, there's something called extracting missing court files. I mean, come on,
Yeah, no, that is absolutely the problem, TK. And in fact, in our own research, we also found that the bribes were really solicited for three big categories of work. Either people were being demanded bribes to make the case go away or to make the documents go missing. And then there was also a request for bribes to affect the outcome of the case, which is actually quite serious. And so it does seem that the culture of bribery in the courts does relate to how the case should move or how justice should take course. In Gauteng, a couple of years ago, there was also another issue relating to court orders. People were bribing court officials so that they can get court orders out of the High Court. And luckily, because of the court online system, those kinds of leakages or those kinds of opportunities for bribery have been closed.
So are you saying, technology should be stepped up here in order to at least deal with most of these problems?
Well, first and foremost, there needs to be thorough investigation and prosecution, and everyone implicated must be held accountable. And luckily, the Department of Justice, about 2-3 weeks ago, they announced that they had fired about 54 staff members, officials in the justice sector, who some of them had fraud, theft, corruption allegations against them, and they were dismissed. So those kinds of cases do need to happen. People need to be prosecuted. I think that's one effective way to stop this. Perhaps the most sustainable way to stop this is technology, because like I said, in Gauteng, when there was a rollout of the court online system, it eliminates the opportunity for people to pay bribes, because now suddenly you don't need to pay a court official for you to get a court date. You don't need to be solicited for a bribe in order for documents to get missing. And more importantly, the online system does create a paper trail of some sort where we can see exactly who was accessing the court at a particular time, or a court file at a particular time.
Yeah, but it reminds me of a discussion that we had, I think a week or two ago, Cloaks calling us to talk about fake, court orders that are apparently a big problem in the province of Gauteng, and this, this in relation to online judgments in particular. Is it something that you are aware of as Judges Matter?
Well, I don't know the full details, but what I do know is that on the court online system, for you to get a court order, first of all, it needs to be authorized by the judge, and then the registrar also needs to authorize it. And like I said, it's a digital trail, so there will be annotations on the digital court file that says that this person accessed the court file at this time, and this is what they did. And so for you to get an actual court order out of that system, there needs to be a few checks before you ultimately...
No. The ones I'm referring to are fake.
Well, if it's fake, that means...
Purported to have been delivered online.
Then it couldn't have gone through the court online system if it is completely fake. And that's another assurance why we need this proper online system to be rolled out across the country, because it closes the loop for those. We can easily say this is fake because it didn't go through the proper court online system. Yes, there is a tendency, or let me say a criminal element that is quite common, where people get random emails with court orders saying that you must pay a certain amount. And those kinds of things are phishing, and people must be aware of them, and they must be aware of those scams, because if there is any court order that is issued, it must be issued through the court online system, and the registrar can verify that this court order was issued by this judge, by this registrar, this is the case number, and the exact time up to the second in which that court order was issued.
Thank you so much, my brother. We really appreciate it. But before I let you go, do you get a sense that this will be dealt with? Because some of the complainants have been saying that they've been sending emails and no positive response from officers higher up.
Well, look, I'm hoping the court officials are listening to this conversation and they are taking notes, because clearly there is a big problem that people are frustrated by. I wish I could give the assurance that they will attend to this, but I do hope that they are listening and they will be acting on this very quickly, because it is undermining their own authority and their own legitimacy if they're not attending to the complaints as quickly as possible.
Got you. Thank you so much, my brother. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.